This is it?
Yeah, that's
at
our
me.
special job. It's all yours.
It's usually like mostly guys, and every once in a while they throw in a female. This is fantastic. I love it.
Welcome to the line of work, right? That lozenge is
Hey, what are you
disgusting
doing?
anyway.
Hey, everybody. Hello, hello.
Lozenge, I know the lozenge.
You can hear me, right? Recording?
Sorry to hear.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight for tonight's marketing panel. My name is Barry Hayman. For those that don't know me, I'm the department chair of the music business program at IAR, which is the Music and Entertainment Management and Production Program. I have a few words I'd like to say. One, thank you to IAR for having the panel here. Also for Webster Hall, who will be hosting the post-panel networking event after the panel. Also to the marketing department at IAR, Jody and Vince. To the IT person Downing. Tech support, Scott and Pete. Career services, Ryan. Zach Goldberg for recording the event tonight. So I'm going to ask all the panelists to speak into the microphones, even if people can hear you, so it gets properly recorded. The event is organized by the Music Committee Division of the Florence Belsky Charitable Foundation. So I'd like to thank all the members of the Music Committee, if you are here, for being here and helping to put this together, as well as folks from the foundation. We have Jill and Perry here as well. And just some background about the actual panel. It's actually a series of 4 panels that we as a Music Committee decided to put together as an educational and informational event for the DIY, the do-it-yourself artist. So this is the third one in a panel of 4. The first one we threw a while ago at this point was the artist team. When do you need a manager, attorney, agent, etc. on your team as an independent artist? The last one we did was at the cutting room, and that was about new technologies and production in the studio setting. And IAR sponsored that event. So when it came to this third one, I said, why don't we try to have it at the school itself? And that's also why we are here today. And this panel, as you probably know, is about marketing and branding as an independent DIY artist. The 4th panel will be in the fall, and that's about making money as a DIY artist, right? You all do this, well, or at least, never mind. We do this for potentially at least to make some money, monetize our creations as artists. So Dan Schneider is the executive director of the Florence Belsky Charitable Foundation, and apologizes not for being here tonight, but he asked me to say a few words on his behalf. So I'll do that now. The mission of the Florence Belsky Foundation is connecting people, sharing ideas, and helping each generation teach the others. We have over 400 volunteers, intergenerational advisors globally. The foundation has 3 major programs in New York and LA. First Mondays, Women Who Lunch, and I Can Still Do That. First Mondays is a live networking event with a goal to connect people and empower them to share ideas with each other in a casual setting. First Mondays is a general networking program, and people from all industries are welcome. And that is why tonight, following this panel, there will be a First Mondays NYC networking event from 8:30 to 11 at Webster Hall Sports Bar, and you all are invited to attend. And almost done. So our moderator, our initial moderator, Mark Barron, unfortunately is unable to be with us this evening. However, we do have Olivia Scott. Olivia runs her own marketing firm, Emergence Alliances, and also has been an instructor here at IAR and has kindly agreed to moderate. I also would like to, of course, thank all the panelists for taking time out of, I know, everyone's busy schedule, for sharing their insights and information as gifts for all of our, in their respective areas of expertise. So again, the panel will run for about an hour. We'll have post-panel networking here at the school for a half hour. I'm sorry, in between the panel and the post-networking, there'll be a half an hour of Q&A. All right, so an hour of panel, and then your questions, please do come up here to ask your question as we are recording it. Okay, and that's all I have. I'm going to turn it over to Olivia and just ask that all panelists do try to speak in the microphone as it's being recorded. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Well, good evening, everyone. How are you doing tonight? All right, very exciting. So many of you are here tonight because you want to be rich, you want to be famous by making your music. And we get that. I think it's a really exciting time in the music industry. Never has there been so much access directly from a music manufacturer to the music listener. It's an amazing time in the music industry. However, what the challenge is how can you guys create your brands? How can you get your music marketed in the best way that's most effective for you? So tonight, we have a very esteemed panel that's here to really share their pearls of wisdom from, probably over, I'd say 60 years combined to share with you guys what the trends are, what's
Probably
working
more.
now. Probably more?
Sorry,
Yeah,
just kidding.
for each. So it might be like 80 years, but a lot of experience we want to offer to you guys. In terms of the panel flow, we're going to go until about 7:30 with curated questions from my end with the panel. And then at 7:30, we're going to open it up to you guys. This is your panel. We really want to make sure that you guys get something out of tonight. So at around 7:30, I'll invite you guys to come up and ask your questions. Don't be shy. And with that, I'll introduce the wonderful panel. So to my right, we have Hayley Rosenblum. She is a music outreach lead from Kickstarter. She specializes in fan engagement and community building with digital media, and she works with musicians, managers, and record labels. Most importantly, to date, she's overseen $47 million in pledges to successful Kickstarter projects. And prior to Kickstarter, she's a radio host at a university level, and she's also worked with independent musicians and performance artists, and one that she helped get to the top 10 on the Billboard 200. So welcome, Ms. Hayley. Thank you. And then none other than Mr. Lou Plaia from ReverbNation. We all know and love him, co-founder of ReverbNation. Founded ReverbNation in 2006. In case you guys don't know about ReverbNation, they're the leading provider of marketing and business tools for more than 3 million solo artists and bands worldwide, and they get over 20 million monthly unique visitors. What he does on a daily basis is broker valuable deals for these artists, connecting them with talent buyers, promoters, festivals, venues, all kinds of opportunities. So he'll have a lot to talk about as it relates for how independent artists can really get connected with opportunities in the marketplace. Hands. Then we have an artist. We wanted to make sure we had an artist on the panel as well. So we have Cassandra Kubinski. And Cassandra is a singer and songwriter whose specialty is theatrical pop music that she performs internationally. She's performed, of course, in New York City, but also Canada, Jamaica, Germany, and beyond. But what's really interesting about Cassandra is that she has found a way to create additional revenue streams for herself. So beyond getting on the radio, what she's done is worked with Sync. She's been very successful with the Sync licensing, and also working with voiceover. So working with brands and doing voiceover. So we can kind of talk about how you guys as artists don't have to just look for recorded product, because we all know that recorded product, those streams are kind of drying up. So looking for alternative ways to really be successful as a musician. So that's Miss Cassandra. And there's one more thing I want to say before we clap for her. Thank you. Billy Joel had something to say about her. He said, Cassandra Kubinski is very similar to the singer-songwriters of the late 70s. Proves that the genre can still be transcendent. So I thought that was pretty special. And then my friend, Miss Fiona Bloom. Fiona is a force to be reckoned with. She is the owner of The Bloom Effect. She is a master publicist, marketer, and branding person. She's been doing this for over 20 years internationally. Her firm, The Bloom Effect, is a one-stop international firm that specializes in branding for artists, labels, and lifestyle companies. So she really is on the front edge of what's happening now, and not just in the States, but internationally in terms of getting independent artists exposed, building their brands, and connecting with their audiences. So with that said, give a round of applause for the panel. So I'll kick it off with a question for all of you, which is, I talked about the fact that right now in the music industry, what the internet has done has been a blessing and almost a curse too. With the internet, anybody in the world can create music and distribute it, right? So if my music is whack, I can do it just as well as somebody else whose music is amazing. So what the difference is the brand, being able to create a brand for yourself. And I think the word brand is just kind of being overused, a brand. So I would love for any of you guys to speak about what does it mean to have a brand, and how can you build an entertainment brand as an independent artist?
I'll start. A brand is basically your identity. It's your vision. It's your raison d'etre. It's really who you are. Do I even need this? It's really, I do need it. Yes. Hello. Yes. You know, the brand starts with you. You have to really find your voice. You have to kind of understand who you are marketing to, who you are speaking to. And when you find that, which is a big work in progress, it could take years to find your voice, to find your style, to find who it is you are, to be that authentic person that is you. Because until you're authentic, your brand isn't going to resonate. So that's the hardest, most challenging thing anybody can do. And with that brand, with that voice, with that authenticity, with the vision, is your image. It's how you market yourself. And that image is your visual. It's your visual, it's your packaging. It's all of those things. And I think all of us can speak to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to be very consistent anytime you're doing any of that. Consistency is probably the most important thing. I mean, you can have changes along the way, but not like crazy total changes. Little things that aren't working, you could always change up, but your brand really does have to be consistent all along. Because, I mean, I see so many press kits, for instance. I look like a country band and it's a metal band, you know, something like that. And what people see is this first impression means everything. So I think most bands that I deal with, and we have like 4 million of them, I think most of them aren't even on track on what they really should be doing or what they are doing.
Yeah, I'd have to say it's kind of similar. It's you can distribute your music now easier than ever, but what's going to set you apart from your neighbor that's doing the same exact thing? It's yourself, and it's your voice, and it's yourself, and your story is going to set you apart from the next person. So figure out your authentic self, figure out what your message is, stick to it, change it if you need to, but really stick to it, because that's how you're going to be memorable. That's how when you release something else, or you put up a new song, or you put up a new video, it's like people can remember, oh right, that's this. So authentic and stick to your guns.
And I think if there are 4 keys, if I would encapsulate it, I would say it's authenticity, consistency, transparency, and trust. Trust is something that this is really all about. You know, the reason why people will go and buy Beyonce's album without hearing a song, without even hearing it on the radio, is because they trust her to deliver. You know, the reason why I will buy anything that Layla Hathaway creates, I don't care what it is, even if it's in the bathtub, is because I trust her. I trust her ability to deliver for my ear. So that's also what it's about. So trust, authenticity, consistency, and transparency. So with that, name a top independent brand that you think is doing well.
There are so many, actually. And I don't know if they're, I mean, it's hard to say. Is Shazam independent? Is that an independent company, Shazam? I don't know. It is. I mean, look at what they're doing. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I think Mophie, you guys know about Mophie. I mean, they're the #1 in mobile right now in the marketplace. I just came back from South by Southwest, and you know what they did there? They sent rescue dogs. Anybody that needed rescuing in terms of juice that ran out of, you know, battery, all you had to do was tweet them at Mophie, #rescue me, and they sent St. Bernard dogs, those gorgeous creatures. They sent them to you wherever you were with a charge pack. That is absolutely phenomenal. And the reason I bring that up is Mophie, in my book, wins. When you get to be creative and think outside the box and you do really interesting, unheard of things, that works. That blows people's minds. That's magic.
Yeah, I think being the artist representation here, I think they got to kind of turn this up, but I'll just yell. So I think being the artist representation here, the question is really interesting about how do you build the brand. So I think we covered, you know, what is a brand, or like, can you describe what a brand is? And to Fiona's point, I think one of the brands that I really look at and think is amazing is a brand like Toby's Coffee, or like an independent coffee retailer in the city. And what I notice is that just like one of my favorite brands, one of my favorite corporate brands that started out very small, which is Starbucks, I happen to love that they built a story and they built an environment around that story. So it wasn't just about the product that they were going to sell you, which by the way was great. So number one, like first and foremost, like Olivia said, you can make whatever you want to make and put it out into the world. But it doesn't mean that you're going to gain an audience or gain followers unless you're delivering something that actually moves people, inspires people, connects with people when we're talking about music, you know, and when we're talking about you as an artist or you as a festival or you as whatever it is that you're creating in music. To me, part of what makes a brand successful is involving people in a story so that when they engage with your brand, they get to be someone or feel a certain aspect of their personality that you bring out in them by being consistent and authentically that. So, you know, so for Toby's Coffee, maybe it's, they have such consistent look in their marketing, and it's all very kind of bohemian, you know, it's like everything's written in chalk on a chalkboard, and the tables, everything's kind of a natural wood. So you see that the very individual choices they've made in terms of, like Fiona was saying, the image, you know, the look, the colors, the materials. What are you going to see? How are you going to feel when you enter that space? And that's something that they manage really closely, that I think you have the power as an artist, or even really as a you know, an audio engineer or whatever it is that you do, that you can come to stand for something to people and they go to you for that.
So to that point, I want to interrupt and include Lou and Hayley in this. When you think about independent artist brands, are there particular acts that you think of? Maybe they're bigger now, like I think of DJ Skrillex. I think of a few names that really stand out in terms of artists that have been able to really represent something. Can you share with us some good entertainment independent brands that are doing well?
As artists?
As artists, yeah.
Well, I guess like deadmau5, I guess, has that whole thing. I don't know anything about EDM music, but I know he's the guy because of his whatever he's wearing. So I guess he's branded himself that way.
Okay.
I guess people would say that he's better than the other ones, more hit quality, I guess. Again, I'm not an EDM fan, so I don't really know if it's actually better.
Is he?
Is he? I don't know. To me, it all sounds the same.
It's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
He's pressing buttons.
But he stands out, right? So he presses the buttons maybe the same as everybody else, but everybody seems to know who he is.
Okay, who else?
I think like on a smaller scale, maybe a little more relatable, I think of Jonathan Mann, who is known for writing a song a day every single day and putting it up on YouTube for over a year. And so when people ever talk about him and whatever else he's doing, they start off by introducing, oh, he's the guy that does the song a day. And then some people will be like, oh, I recognize him because he has this thing that he's known for. And then he does other projects that kind of stem off from the song a day. And so it's kind of all relates back to this one thing that he's been known for doing. So in terms of like a small scale brand, I think that works because you figure out what you're known for. You can branch out creatively, but you still have that one thing to center back.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to shift to another question now. So we talk about branding. We also know the recorded product streams are kind of drying up. So we hear about doing partnerships and sponsorships with companies. Everybody wants to do a deal with other people's money, right? So can you guys share some insight on what are corporate brands looking for and what can artists provide them?
I think a lot of corporate brands are looking for, obviously, originality, creativity. That's number one. I think also they're looking for your reach, how wide your reach is, how big of a presence you have on social media. And I'm not talking about buying social, because you can see right through that. That's transparent. We all know that. I think brands are looking for, they want to see how active you are, what your voice means on Twitter. Do you have 100,000 plus followers on Twitter? Do you have 2 million likes on Facebook? I'm not talking about major label artists. I'm talking about independent artists have those types of numbers. Trust me, because I work with some of them, or have worked with some of them. We're talking about Instagram, you know, where you can post. For example, I have an artist called Avery Sunshine. She will write she'll make one post on Facebook and within 2 minutes have 20,000 likes and 2,000 comments. That is an impact. Brands, if they're going to partner with an artist, with a brand that's an artist that's coming up, you have to show them that you have that type of engagement, that you have that type of consistency, and that type of influence.
Fiona, how do you get there, though? I mean, how did she get to 2 million?
It's definitely trial and tribulation. I mean, it's basically trial by error. It's guerrilla marketing. It's being out in the street every single day. It's being consistently active all the time. There is no vacation on social media. You cannot take 3 days off. You cannot take 1 day off. You shouldn't be taking 1 day off. I'm not saying just throw anything up out there. I mean, you want to be thoughtful. You want to be entertaining. You want to say stuff that's informative. Yes, you do. And that relates. But at the same time, if you've disappeared because you have nothing to say, there's something seriously wrong with that. So the way to grow your brand with those numbers is by just doing it and not being on Twitter 100 tweets, retweeting and posting some stupid stuff. You can post 2 times a day, 3 times a day, but it has to at least be on an actual daily regiment. And the other way to grow it is get out there in the streets, with handbills, flyering. I still feel that flyering is effective. I'm not saying you have to print out 20,000 flyers these days. Those days are gone. But at least get 1,000 to 1,000 with your image, with all your socials on there, all the icons, your website, and you don't have to leave masses of them at coffee shops anymore because those do go to waste. Mm-hmm. But I really, truly do believe in walking the streets, and I still do it, walking the streets and actually, hey, if I think a guy's good looking, I'll go up there and give them a handbill. And not just walk away, by the way. Never give them a flyer and leave. You give them a flyer and you connect. It's called being human. You tell them a little bit about what that flyer is. You engage for that 2-3 seconds. Yes, everybody's running, everybody's got somewhere to be, but they will engage with you for 3 seconds, trust me. Maybe not 2 minutes, but 3 seconds. You can get a lot done in 3 seconds because guess what? When you've left that 3 seconds, they've got the handbill.
Yeah, I mean, some of the most successful artists now, like Taylor Swift, they make their fans feel special. They'll ask questions. It's not all about Taylor Swift when she posts things. Mm-hmm. And I tell everybody, I don't care what kind of artist you are, just follow her and see what she does and do the same thing because she's asking her fans everything. They matter more than she matters. She's not selling them her music, ever.
Yeah, so I worked with Amanda Palmer for a long time, and that's kind of the secret. It's to really engage with your audience. It's not to tweet at them. It's not to tell them, buy my album now, go to my show now. Like, that's the most boring thing you can put on your social feeds. It's to reply to them. It's to ask them questions. It's to get them talking to each other, making like this community feel, so to speak, like within your own channel and building your community. So it's not just social media, it's social community. Back in, 5 years, 10 years ago, it existed in different places. It existed on forums, in newsletters, physical newsletters and email newsletters. Then it went to MySpace. Now it's onto Facebook. Now it's onto Instagram, Vine, Twitter. So the social medium will change, but what you're doing needs to kind of overlap. You need to figure out how can you transfer all the hundreds or maybe thousands of people you see on a tour. How do you get them to stick with you? Where are you sending them? Your website, your Twitter? Figure that out, centralize it, and keep going. Because technology is going to change, but you need to keep your audience with you no matter where you're going.
So a couple of questions. Want to go a little deeper with what you guys are both saying. So for those people who are like, I don't even like social media and I don't even know how to begin, you talked about, which I thought was really, really brilliant, really engaging them and not just saying, buy my album, buy my album. What kinds of content can they create? When you said Amanda was asking questions, what kinds of things was she talking about?
Well, she's an interesting case because she has no filter. So like, you can kind of give this perception that you're honest and you share every single thing just by being selective in what you share. So it's like, oh, I just woke up, I feel like crap today, or like, oh, whatever seems personal, that like you're in a room and you're looking at somebody in the eyes and you're chatting with them and they feel special. It's like the handbill thing, right? Like that moment of human connection, that is what is memorable. And so you try to create a sincere sense of that, not like an inauthentic sense, just like, what's for lunch, guys? Maybe not. Or it's like, I just had like this most fantastic sandwich. I've never had bread like this before. What are you guys eating? Like kind of having it as a conversation, not just talking to people like it's talking to a wall or to a sea, but as a conversation.
Okay. I have Avery Sunshine, for instance. She'll go to a gig, and she's at the airport at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. looking like crap, basically. I mean, no makeup, kind of like barely wide, eyes open. But she does the really cool thing, and the fans love it. She'll take a selfie of her looking the way she does, not all glammed up because she's gorgeous. and she'll take that selfie looking not as glam and hot, you know what I mean? But she puts it up there to her 25,000 fans, and they're like, go girl, we love you, do it, yeah, shine. And she has a mantra too. I mean, mantras really help. I mean, for her, it's like everybody shine, wake up, everybody shine. You can find a tagline, which is really, really important for your brand that people will remember. And you can say that all the time on your business card, on your flyers, at your shows, in the street. And people you'll be surprised at who's saying those words over and over again. Because your fans, at the end of the day, are your biggest cheerleaders. They're the ones that are spreading the word of mouth. They're the ones that are doing the vast part of the promotion.
So with time is very, very precious for everybody. And artists, which I hugely respect, side note, you guys are creating the music, you're working day jobs, you have a lot of things going on. So we're saying be always on with social media. For many artists or producers or engineers, that may seem really unachievable just based on time. And what I also know is you really don't want to relegate your social media to an intern or someone that's not you, because you want it to be authentic. So if you look at the fact that you have Facebook, you've got Twitter, you've got Instagram, you've got Pinterest, and I'm sure I'm missing something else, Vine, Snapchat, what's
Tumblr.
Tumblr, LinkedIn.
There's loads.
Which ones for independent artists, if there were just two that they should just really focus on?
I mean, I always tell my artists, because there isn't enough time in the day, but I don't even say 2, I say try to do 4. But if we're just going to talk about 2, then I say Instagram is absolutely essential. Instagram, and it's fun. You guys, it's fun. Who doesn't like to take pictures and make them all filtered up and pretty and beautiful? The ugliest pictures can be gorgeous at the end, you know, and they're creative and fun. So I'd have to say Instagram. And the second one, God, it's hard. If you're an artist, I would have to say SoundCloud. That's a social network too, you know, and that's community. So I tell them 4 or 5 because it's more than just SoundCloud and Instagram. I say you've got to be on Facebook, which whatever. We got to be on Facebook, you got to be on Instagram, you've got to be on Twitter, you've got to be on SoundCloud, and you've got to be on YouTube. That YouTube is not an uploading video platform, it is a social network.
And that's the biggest one, is YouTube.
So 5, guys, not 2, 5, do 5.
So let's talk about that. So if it's 5, if it has to be 5,
it should
be
be
relevant. If it has to be 5, Fiona, got it. How do they do it? How do you manage being on 5? I can barely get a tweet out a day.
It's
1.
Cassandra, you should talk about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm on all of the social media platforms that Fiona's suggesting, and I've also experienced the kind of challenge of like, how do you make that happen, and how do you be authentic rather than it always being like, I'm speaking on this panel tonight, and then I have this upcoming show, and like every once in a while being like, maybe I should tweet a picture of a coffee or something, you know? So yeah, so I totally get that it's, you know, it can be a challenge. I think what I've found is that that the engagement thing really does work, and but that overall, to me, human interaction is still going to be key. And whether that's somebody that you meet in the elevator, or somebody that you meet on a park bench. I mean, I literally have fans who I've met on a park bench. When you make that personal connection with somebody, like these 2 are suggesting, no matter how you do that, whether that's in person or if you manage to find a way to really authentically do it online, that's the key. And then I also wanted to say that I just read a really interesting article about the demographic breakdown of these social networks. So I think part of it, if we're talking about limiting it to 2, is look at who is where and see who are you looking to reach. Because I think Facebook these days, when I got into Facebook, I mean, I remember my younger sisters being like, oh my God, this college social network thing just opened up, you need to get on it. And I was like, I don't know, like I'm on MySpace, sounds like more work. And now, Facebook has been huge for me in the last, however long I've been on it, you know, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been. So, so you know, kind of staying up on that and looking at that. But now Facebook, from what I understand, is sort of pitching older. So now Facebook is a place where if you're a tween or a teen or not really sure like where the upper limit is, but like you're not there because that's where your parents are, and you know you kind of don't want them like seeing all the stuff that you're putting up. So more youthful people, I think, are moving to things like Vine and Twitter and even like Snapchat and things that, you know, where it can be gone in an instant. So I would say, you know, just do a little research, like a quick Google, and I guess my last piece of advice for it would be, like, don't take a deep breath. Don't make yourself insane, really. Because if you can get good, like really good and masterful at one or two of them, you'll start seeing what works. And then you can start transferring that across platforms, you know? I mean, Instagram, there's a way to set it up so that everything you put on Instagram just feeds out to your Facebook and your Twitter.
Except I kind of don't agree with that. I mean,
was gonna ask.
only because each platform is a community.
Yep.
You have to treat each platform as individual groups. So you don't want, that audience on Instagram is very different from Twitter, very different, and extremely different from Facebook. I am so irritated if I see people do that. I mean, once in a blue moon, it's fine. I'm not going to scold you. But at the same time, I would never do that,
But
ever.
you're a PR person, you know, and the thing is that there's the human beings who are out there are not necessarily on 5 platforms. Like,
Well, but then be on 3. That's not as much, you know, be on 3. And do.
as an audience member, though, you know, I'm
Right.
saying that
Right.
it's like.
But
I get
everybody
what
should
you're
be on
saying.
YouTube. Everybody should be on YouTube regardless. But just, you know, so don't count YouTube then, and just do the 2 other, Instagram and Facebook, and there you go.
And Cassandra, I knew that Fiona was going to fold. Were you going to say something? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, when you post on the different platforms, use your analytical tools, especially if you have like a Facebook page and like Tumblr, you can see your activity and see what kind of posts resonate the most on each place.
Yes.
And that will help you kind of figure out what you're posting where. Like, for example, learning that like video works really well when it's uploaded on Facebook, and Facebook will show it to more of your audience. So maybe you put some Facebook video and then some on YouTube, wherever it may be. Another thing too is in terms of time, where you're an artist, where do you spend your time on the social media? Well, one of the secrets, and this works really well with Kickstarter, is that people don't know what it takes to make music. They don't know what your day-to-day life is like. So if you're on the road, if you're recording, you can snap a picture in the vocal booth. You can snap, capture that moment and share it as you're going, kind of like literally a live journal. That's a pun unintended, but that's how you have content. Is your life is content. It's worth sharing.
Yeah.
Think of it like set lists, right? At a concert, it's pretty much a scrap of paper, but people will fight over it, right? So like the little glimpse in your life, people will fight over. And then lastly is in determining which networks you want to do. All of them are different. They have different communities and different utilities, and figure out what you're comfortable with. So if you have a hard time sticking to 140 characters on Twitter, maybe Twitter is not for you, and that's okay. But if if you're a visual person and you like Instagram, well, maybe you're a visual person that can use Tumblr too. So you figure out what works for you and your voice and your brand, as we were discussing. And it's okay not to be on all of them. Figure out what's most, beneficial for you.
There's also a budget you have to worry about now, because Facebook, I think it's less than 10%. It's like 3 to 8% of your posts
Don't get seen.
get seen. Well, 3 to 8% get seen. So if you have 1,000 fans, only whatever the numbers are, 30 or 80 people are actually seeing it.
Yeah.
So you might have to spend money on that. Twitter's free. The other ones I think are all free for now.
For now.
SoundCloud's going to be charging,
Yeah.
otherwise they'll be out of business.
YouTube's going to be charging.
They're all going to be charging.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're going to have to also think about that as well.
Okay. Shifting again, new question. So with limited budget, independent artist, where should they start in terms of a base marketing plan? What should a very basic marketing plan include as an independent act?
Well, I'm biased, so I'm going to say ReverbNation.
Well, tell us about it.
Well, I think most artists start on Reverb. We're not a social. I mean, we do have social network tools on there, but we're not a fan site. We're not trying to compete with MySpace, Facebook, and any of them. But we do give away free tools, whether it's an app for Facebook and all these other tools that we provide. Some of them you will have to pay for down the road if you need different things like a press kit. But I think it's the only site that has pretty much everything other than radio all in one place, and it's free, so you might as well try it from there. We think of ourselves as almost like a billboard. Put your music on Reverb and use the widget on your website or your app on your Facebook page. So you only have to update it once. We're not going to make anyone superstars. We never claim that. Hopefully we'll maintain your fan base, grow it a little bit, and then eventually you'll need a team and things like that. But it all comes down to a hit song. I mean, you have to have really good songs. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to move that ladder.
So that's the first level in the marketing
Yeah.
plan, is having the music.
And
then-
SoundCloud, definitely be on SoundCloud and
Yeah,
YouTube.
right, and
That's what I
YouTube,
say.
yeah. And then secondly, if you can afford, I'm not saying this to be biased, but you should have a publicist. I always say that every good brand, every band should have a publicist. And there's different, variations of degrees of strength of a PR firm. It could be a boutique agency, it could be a one-woman operation like myself, it could be somebody just getting started that's really not going to charge you much money. You'd be surprised out there if they're fans of yours and they want to get into PR. They would work with you, interning, doing PR. It's very important. They grow, you grow. PR is all about getting you visibility and helping you with your social media and with getting on the road and doing all those things. And, when you can get to a level, when you've got an actual album coming out or you're doing a major tour, then it takes bigger investment to hire, an actual agency or company that can handle that tour. But, I think PR is very, very important. And again, there's just many degrees of PR. It's various levels. The Bloom Effect happens to offer many levels of PR. But, these days PR includes social media, includes producing shows and events and listening parties around the country. It includes doing international marketing these days. It includes, video promotion. I mean, digital marketing, what's left of traditional PR, booking television, syndicated radio. I mean, PR is all encompassing. I mean, I don't sleep.
As an artist who's done it, my base level, or what I would recommend as a base level, how basic are we talking, because when I started out, it was a lot of flyering, exactly what Fiona said. And before I even had the, money to get graphic designers or postcards and not even that, even like $50 to get 1,000 postcards sounded like, whoa, a lot. Sink under the weight of like all of these things that you're supposed to do and you have to do, and oh my god, I need this crazy multi-tiered plan and how and who and all of that. But I think it's important to start with where you are. Just start with what you have, and if that's a friend who's good at graphic design, or if that's some money on a Kinko's card, or if that's you actually have the internet, which a lot of people in the universe don't have, then get on it and do these things. Sign up for free ReverbNation, sign up for Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all of that, and decide how you want it to look and make it consistent across those platforms. I wish I had done that in the very beginning. I have it now, but I didn't back then, and they're all right. It's essential not to confuse people when you're trying to get them to get you, So, so it's the baseline is there's a lot of stuff that you can do for
free now.
Yeah. Including going out into Washington Square Park and playing your tunes.
Yeah.
That's marketing, and you will gain people. They'll drop their card in a bucket, or they'll sign up on a little mailing list, or you'll give them a sticker or something that they can take and go, and then they'll email you. People really will do that if you engage them.
And that's true too with newsletters. Think about it. MailChimp, FanBridge, YLMP. A lot of these services are still free. Some do charge, but the majority of these newsletter email blasts, they're free services. And I believe that everybody should be using those. Everyone, brands, bands alike. And grow it. It doesn't matter if you have 20 people right now today, because tomorrow you'll have 22. Next week you'll have 50. The following week you'll have 80. Then you'll have 300, then you'll have 2,000. It grows.
The people on your email list are the ones who actually buy your stuff.
Yeah.
Because they're diehard fans. They're on your email list. The young bands nowadays kind of neglect emails, which is really the dumbest thing to do. Email list is probably the only thing you'll own, even if you were to get signed.
Yeah.
It's still your email list, unless they'll probably try buying that or taking that over as well. But that's, people who were invested in MySpace way back when, they were relying on that as their website, and when that went down, they lost all their fans, or supposed fans. You don't want to rely on that. If Facebook or ReverbNation or Twitter, or any of these companies go out of business,
or
you're
start
stuck.
charging. Make
Or
it
start
cost prohibitive.
charging.
Yeah.
So build your email big time.
at all of your shows.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes hand in hand too with like getting out there. If you play live music, have that newsletter sign up list with you every single time. Meet people face to face, chat with them. They'll sign your list, and you want to keep it. It's like the 4 T's you mentioned before. They all add up to one thing: loyalty. And when you have a loyal audience, they're going to be your grassroots marketers. They're going to be your guerrilla marketers. They're going to be your street team. They're the ones that are going to shout from the rooftops on their network. So I kind of like talking about the social web literally being a web, right? So if all of you walk away from this today knowing my name, now I know you're going to be talking about Kickstarter, let's say, and you say, oh yeah, I saw Hayley speak somewhere. You're all going to be influencing more people. And think about that in live music context. That's how you kind of build your fan base, is you want to find the select few who are loyal or hear about you, get your name out there, and build it off that way, in person and online.
Okay. So before I shift, I just want to add from a marketing perspective, because that's kind of my world, if you guys allow for me to interject. I think when you look at marketing, you've got TV, you've got radio, you've got print, you've got guerrilla, you've got PR, you've got social, you have cable, which I'll talk about in a second, and you have email marketing. I think when you look from a base perspective, I think email marketing, 1, you should be doing that. 2, social. 3, guerrilla, the flyering. 4, PR. Everybody can do that. Out of that, the only one that you actually have to pay for of those 4 is PR. That's it.
And actually, guerrilla goes deeper than just flyering, by the way. Guerrilla could be going into your local mom and pop stores. You go to record shops, you go to coffee shops, you go to barber shops, and you talk about your music. You give them a CD, you hit them off with a single, vinyl, flyers, visual, whatever it is. Take a picture with the barber. That is what we call guerrilla. That is true guerrilla. Even to the extent of selling music from the boot of your car, the back of your car. I mean, we still do that. It is still happening, trust me.
And so after those 4, when you get a little investment, I would recommend that you look at cable, spot cable. I don't know if any of you guys have ever looked at spot cable TV, but it's actually extremely inexpensive for you to purchase local spot cable inserts. So you call Time Warner Cable Manhattan, you can buy a 2-week buy for like $2,000 and get about 20 spots out of that for $250 per spot. So just understand, being like, as I'm sure we all watch television and you're like, how'd the person get on TV? They got on TV because it's a local spot cable insert. It's just a local insert. So it's not a national, it's not seen all over the country, but it is something in your local markets. It's very accessible. And they have people who work at the Comcast and the Time Warner. I've worked with them, and they'll create like a moving billboard for you. It's not gonna be, a flashy spot that's done by a really expensive commercial house, but you can do that. I've done it. I did a gospel concert a couple years ago and they had like no money. And we spent about $2,000 and got a really nice ad buy. So just want to throw that out there as an option for you guys. So can you guys share for them how much money they should be allocating for their base marketing plan? And this is one of my sore spots, right? I love musicians. My father was a musician. I grew up with music. And so I remember my father just, it's music, and going back in and remastering and re-engineering and making sure the music was just perfect. And then the launch was just getting it in the store. The launch was just getting it on cdbaby.com or on iTunes or getting it on Reverb. That's not a launch. That's just making it available. So always recommending to the artist that you don't spend all of your money in mastering and refining the sound and re-engineering, but you earmark some of the dollars for marketing. So with that said, for independent artists, how much would you recommend for a very basic but effective marketing plan they spend?
I mean, I honestly like to think the best way to spend your money is on the road. Get out, get in a van, stay in a motel, stay on floors. If there's 6 of you in the band, share one room, do whatever it takes. Pay to play initially. If you don't have a fan base, I'm sorry, but that is going to happen because you're going to get door deals. And if you don't bring people through the door, you're literally paying to play, right? But if you're good at your marketing, guerrilla style, and you go to all the record stores, you hit up all the DJs, you go to the local barber shops, you can get people in the door to see you. You don't have to have 200 people at your shows. You can have 50 to 60, be able to sell that kind of, you get those people in the room and they'll buy your t-shirts, they'll buy your merch, they'll buy music just to get a photo op and a signed, CD. You don't have to be famous. People just like signed stuff, they just like to watch you grow and like signed stuff and photos. Everybody wants a selfie with anyone. Just looks that way these days, right? So, I mean, to me, it's like the most obvious way of spending your money And it's not even spending a lot of money getting out on the road, because you end up making your money back, because like I said, you get t-shirts out there, you've got a bit of merch, and you're breaking even. I mean, I just had a band called Waterseed. They're from New Orleans. They're a funk band. I just had them on the road to the West Coast. First time ever. They drove in a van. There's 9 of them. They drove in a van, slept on floors, and went to LA, Sausalito, San Francisco, New Mexico, Nevada, Seattle, San Francisco. They did that in 2 weeks. They drove 2,000 miles, and they actually made $500 at the end of it, because it was expensive with gas money and, you know, 500, you might be laughing at the 500, but that's actually a good thing for a band to go out first time to actually make money, because usually you go out first time and you will lose money. But they weren't in the red, and they were actually in the green with $500, and guess what? They came back with 2,000 new fans.
Well, that goes back to saying, you know, you're a business. You're not supposed to make money at the early on stages. You're not. None of us did. None of our companies made money. We still don't make money. No.
That's right.
No, but I mean, seriously, it's you have to think of yourself as a business. You're going to have to invest in it eventually, and expect to lose. You know, again, artists I talk to, they all think that they should be rich because they're so amazing. Well, there's a lot of so amazing artists out there, and they're not rich. Yeah. You just gotta invest time and put work into it.
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to give them a number. Right? Okay, so I know
number?
you're saying, okay, if there's a number. So okay, what's the least amount they can spend with a publicist per
I think
month?
it depends on where you are, though.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you are. Okay, let's just say for this tour that Waterseed did, you know, with renting the van, with making sure that they were going to eat and do all that stuff for 9 people, because that's a lot of people. Depends, not all bands have 9 people. They have horns and everything. It cost them $5,000. $5,000 to get out on the road for 2 weeks. If you think about it, for 9 people, $5,000 is nothing, because that's less than $1,000 per member. Each member if they contribute them on their own $600, that's the $5,000 right there. So it's great. Thing about bands is you all can contribute. It's not just you making the investment. If you want to pay for my services, depending on your needs, it's anywhere from $500 a month to $3,000 a month. And if a band can afford $1,500 and the band has 5 people in the band, they should all 5 pitch in for that monthly service.
Yep, that's where I was, around 5,000. I
Yeah.
just want to give them a number so they can understand something to aim towards. So speaking of investment, Kickstarter. Can you give them some examples of some successful Kickstarter campaigns with artists?
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's tons of different ones. I think the most common one is like if somebody wants to make an album, you want to make an album, and you pre-sell it and you raise money to do that, and you budget in PR, you budget in a tour, you budget in duplication and all those fees, and that is your project. But it goes all the way down to producing a live show, to producing only vinyl, and that's all you're raising money for. So it's like $500 because you just small run, all the way down to big projects that are, full scope, where you're making a color book and you're making vinyl and you're making the CD and you're making, music videos all packaged in. So there's anything from just one simple project to the full release, the full, artistic vision that you have.
And are there any best practices for those campaigns? Should they allow 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months if they want to reach their goal? I know it depends on how much they're trying to accrue, but...
Sure. So on Kickstarter, you can have a project last as little as 1 day to as long as 60 days. Best practice would be 30 days a month, because you're hustling for those 30 days, right? You're talking about it, you're on the road, you're whatever you're doing to promote yourself, to promote your project, to get your music done. Because first and foremost, you're making the music, right? And so 30 days is about a good time. Any longer, it's just going to exhaust you, and it's going to exhaust your audience, typically. That being said, if you're a Watershed and you're on the road for 40 days exactly, and you're seeing 100 different people a different night in a new city, you should have that campaign up for live for however long you're talking to people. And so you can think about what your promotion plans are outside of a campaign, and set the timeline that way. That being said, the campaign itself is a promotion strategy. It is a marketing tool, and it's good because it costs $0 for you to set up. And why is it a promotion strategy? Kickstarter has amazing SEO. If you've ever ran a Kickstarter campaign and you Google your name, that link is going to be on the top of the first page. Even if you're De La Soul, even if you're Toad the Wet Sprocket, even if you're a huge name that has great, search optimization anyway. And so you are provided a platform to say who you are, post your picture, shoot a video, to basically give all your brand assets there to introduce yourself to the world in a public space that anybody can find. And so you have your website, you have your social networks, you can link them all on this page, but when people search you or hear about you, they'll find it. That being said, the Kickstarter's community is 8.5 million people, right? And so people are on this community looking for things. And so you now open yourself to a brand new audience, not just the audience that you're bringing to it, to be able to make your art. So it's kind of this whole big thing that you can use however you want, but you can use it to get started, to build your fan base, to produce loyal fans. So it's think about what you want to do with your career. What do you want to make? How can you share your story? Is it, to go on the road? Is it to raise money so you can go on the road and kind of have it happen organically?
Hayley, you mentioned a one-day campaign.
Yes.
How many people do that? And are they successful?
It's not as common, but you can have a lot of fun with it, sure.
Can you give us an example of a one day? I'm just curious. I'm sure you are.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember one, but I've seen some that are really short just because it's like, not a joke, but some of it's part of the story, right? Like, so, I'm going to do a week of painting, and I only need, $200 to paint this picture, these pictures for my audience. And so you can cap it that way. It doesn't have to be your magnum opus. It doesn't have to be like the big album. It could be something that you're doing for creative energy. Another example is if you're doing a song a day, as people have done, maybe you only want to do a week's worth of songs. Maybe you only want it a short amount of time.
Right. We have 2 more questions before we're going to open up to you guys. So, shifting. Ready. So, given how hard it is to get on commercial radio, and there's so many opportunities beyond commercial and terrestrial radio, what recommendations do you guys have for them to get their music heard?
There's a great platform out there that you all should be using if you're musicians. It's called Delhi Radio. Do you guys know Delhi Radio? Yeah, you guys know it? It's great. And it's free. It's a free platform, and especially great if you're on tour, because they will actually geo-target the markets that you're on, spend a little bit of money if you, as the artist, are actually engaging with their platform, with their audience. So definitely try and use Delhi Radio. It definitely gets your music out there in not the non-traditional, non-terrestrial ways of getting your music heard. And then, of course, there's podcasts. I mean, podcasting is great for non-traditional. And then, obviously, the rest of internet radio, blog talk radio. I mean, there's so many huge, great outlets. And then if it's not actually radio, it's also the music streaming services like Deezer. I mean, there's so many of those, too.
Yeah, for me, one of the other ways that I got stuff out there was through licensing. So it's not necessarily something that most people think of as a part of their plan, like I'm, planning to make this happen. Since a lot of that also, it's that's a whole other area to build in your career. But I found that, hustling to get onto regional or college or just other radio stations. Once in a while, something would hit, and then like, oh my gosh, my song was on the radio like one time, or I got a great interview in a local market. But one of the ways that I really got a lot of stuff out there was by putting music up with licensing companies and submitting music to licensing companies. A few of them are companies like Audio Socket and Jingle Punks. Oh my gosh, come see me after and I'll remember more of them. But anyway, the point is that, they operate under various business models, and there are pros and cons to doing things that way. But I found, for instance, I've had 11 songs on a show called Dance Moms on Lifetime, which probably none of you have seen because you don't want to watch 9-year-old girls dancing in their moms, competing and clawing at each other. But
hopefully they don't.
Right, I don't think you do. I mean, maybe you do, and if you do, I'm not judging. I just want you to know. But you should know my music in that case. But yeah, so so that led to, for instance, the videos of my songs that have been uploaded by those kids and by the fans of that show, whether it was like audio only that they, you know, hopefully bought it and then put it up on YouTube and it's like one still from the show with my song, the combined views of all those songs are well over 1 million just from having stuff on that show, and then engaging in very targeted direct marketing to the fans, mostly on Twitter, in those instances when my songs were on the show. So I think that that's another way, you know, one of many, but one way to look at gaining some exposure is like team up with filmmakers and people that are creating visual media that would use music and start offering your music for use in it.
Yeah, so my main role at ReverbNation has been to go out and get opportunities. We got a couple of 100 festivals, conferences, blogs, print and online magazines, even some college radio. Every once in a while we'll pick up showcases. John's here from Big Apple Music Industry Series. He actually uses us. So he gives an artist every month an opportunity, or 2 artists every month, through us, an opportunity to perform in front of his contacts, which is film and labels and things like that. So we partner with hundreds of Johns throughout the world. So it's we put 13,000 placements last year between licensing, festivals, all these other type of opportunities. It's pretty much, they're all submission. There's no submission fee except for some of the conferences charge. We don't take a piece of it, but we only allow conferences to charge because they'll give you a free badge if you're not selected, so it's still worth it. But all the other ones are free to submit. We would never have somebody pay to possibly play. So that's kind of what we do. We just try to get exposure any way we can for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
I said 2 more. It's really
sorry.
2 more now. So, and Cassandra, I'm thinking about you because we talked before and you talked about the additional revenue streams you created beyond recorded product. Can you tell them more about what you're doing beyond recorded product, beyond syncing? You talked about the voiceovers and anything else that artists can be doing beyond recorded product to monetize their talents.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, to me, it was kind of a matter of, again, starting with what I had. You know, I'm not. People think I'm a good independent marketer, but I'm nothing like. I mean, Fiona is an amazing marketer, and people who do that professionally are good marketers. Like, I need to get with her. You know what I'm saying? So, for me, I just was like, well, what do I have? I know that. From experience, I have the ability to move people. I have the ability to write things that people seem to resonate with. And, you know, over time, you know, it's not patting yourself on the back. You just realize, like, I have a gift, and people call it that for a reason. So I was like, well, what do I do with this? And I found that I always loved doing crazy voices. And when I was a little kid, I thought maybe I would be get into advertising. And so through some real solid effort and through some amazing luck and really fortuitous networking, which is coming up next, I landed in getting into voiceover on a pretty serious scale. So with that, I started out doing really tiny things just for people that I had worked with in the studio. So like My Little Pony and like tiny little things that were a couple $100 here and there. And recently have gotten the opportunity, like now I have a big agent, and I'm the voice of Marsha Brady on the Snickers Super Bowl commercial, and
Which is huge.
awesome.
yeah, so like, you know, so like, and the thing is that who cares? Like, I say one word in the commercial, but I'll tell you what, like, the income from that is really helping to support, for instance, my next EP, which is probably going to cost, you know, all told, production and marketing and whatnot, maybe $20,000, you know, so.
So you can afford me.
Well, I don't know if I can afford you, like, right now. 10 of that is for the producer, just so you know. So yeah, so there's that, and then additionally, like, I love doing stuff like this. I love connecting with people, and I love the moments in my life where there's been somebody on a panel or a musician who sang a line in a song, and there was a nugget, and there was something that was like, maybe they don't even remember that they said it, but it made such a difference for me. And what I hope is that from all of us here tonight, that there's something that really connects, and if you only remembered that one thing, and if you only acted, like took real action on that one thing, that it would elevate and expand your results. So, you know, so I like to teach. I occasionally actually do teach music, not often, but you know, so you kind of keep like these little income streams going to stay related to human beings and not be in my little studio box of like, wait, is this funny? Is this good? Is this moving? I don't know. You know.
Okay, cool. So then my final, thank you very much. The final question I have, and you guys should prepare your questions, be prepared to come on up, is, all right, we've got social media, but then you have artist websites. I would say about 5 to 7 years ago was all about having an artist website. I would like to get your point of view around how important it is to have an artist website and spend money on investing and creating a website, A, in light of a social media, the universe we have, and if it's still important, are there some tools like Squarespace or something they can use to get it done cheaply?
Oh, can I say that? I've got to talk about websites. Absolutely, 120% you guys should have your own artist websites. Because again, you own those, just like the newsletter that you have, whether it's on MailChimp or FanBridge, you own that 100%. Nobody can take that away from you. Companies go by the wayside. Look what happened to Groove Shark last week, you guys. 35 million subscribers, been around 8 years and gone. Which could happen to Twitter, could happen to Facebook, Instagram, all of them, right? But you, with your website, nobody can pull the plug on your ish except you. If you're not paying your bills, that's your issue, right? Nobody else's. So absolutely, at the end of the day, you've got to have your website. You also, at the end of the day, with all the social platforms, all of this media, you still want it to be driving them back to you. That traffic has to be that final destination, you. And there's so much to be done with your website. It could still be that retail store. It could be your blog. It could be all your tour dates, you know, your bios, news, everything. And with that said, you know, there's definitely great, you know, features and tools that you can use that don't cost much. Some of them are free. Like, for instance, WordPress. I mean, I built my site on WordPress. WordPress is amazing. Another one that's a little bit more costly, well, Section 101, that's actually a really good one too. I mean, I know that they do have a monthly cost for Section 101, but there's so many, you know, you mentioned Squarespace. There's so many other companies like that that will provide, you know, assistance for you to build out a website that you don't really have to spend much money on. The upkeep is really, you know, what you need to spend your money on, making sure that it's consistently fresh, updated with visual, you know, with content and graphics. And that really is a bit of an investment, maybe $50 to $100 a month, if that. But absolutely, if anything to be spent, it should be your website.
Yeah, we have website Site Builder. It's called, and it's, I think it's $8.99 a month.
What doesn't ReverbNation do?
Oh yeah, we have everything. But so it's I think it's like $8.99 a month, I believe. It's definitely $10 or less, and it's for musicians. So you already have all your content and your videos and your links and everything else on there. So you don't have to do much work. It's pretty much all done for you. But if we were to go out of business, you're kind of starting from scratch again as well. So you may want to eventually one day get your real own website. I think WordPress will probably be around forever. Yeah. Things like that. But I think as a starting point, I would not spend that much money. Bandzoogel's another one. We actually used to work with them. We don't work with them anymore. But they're pretty much the same price as ours. I think CD Baby does it also. So it's not just ReverbNation, but we do have that.
And if you're going to start from scratch and like really cheap, well, yeah, but even cheaper than that is coding Tumblr, right? Yeah. Most people like that use Tumblr. All you do is buy a domain, which will be like, you know, $20 a year. And then you can learn to code, or you can have a friend that's learning to code. And guess what? You're promoting your friend, and your friend's going to promote you because you're a part of their portfolio. And so that's another thing. It's like the networking to build the basic website. Now, the website is going to be the home of your brand with the pictures, as you mentioned, with your news, with the links to your Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth, the central hub of who you are. And last but not least, a contact, whether it's a contact page, whether it's an email address. Get that going. And now with your own website, you can have booking at yourname.com or management at yourname.com. And all of them can funnel to you, but the presence that it has looks much better than randommusician at gmail.com. And so when you start to, it's kind of like a puffer fish. You just blow yourself up like you're bigger than maybe you really are. That confidence and presence will help you be taken as serious as you should be taken serious.
And also, if you're not able to update your website because you're worried, well, if I build out my website, when am I going to have time to update it, or I don't have the money to update it, it's great because you can integrate all the widgets on social media, your Tumblr page, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, all of that stuff can be integrated so that every time you're updating your platforms, it all feeds straight into the home page of your website. So you might not update your website for a week, but guess what? When a fan goes there, they're not going to know that because everything's fresh on the home page from all the feeds coming in.
Awesome. Thank you. Open to you guys. Questions, please. Just come up. Got about 15 minutes. Thank you guys very, very much. Come on up, please.
Hi, my name is Chris Vasquez. I'm not a student at IAR, but I'm a PR graduate student from Iona College, and this is for Fiona. I just wanted to know what sort of challenges do PR marketing firms that specialize in music are facing with developing artist brands today?
God, how long do we have? So many challenges. I guess the biggest challenge is, knowing that you have a new client and they're spending money having you get PR for them. The biggest challenge we have as publicists these days it's not that easy to get press anymore. Even to get a blog post can be really, really, really just very frustrating, because what you're dealing with these days is now social media presence. They want to know that if they're going to write about you, they're going to want to know that there's some impact and there's some reason outside of just the music that people are going to be interested to read it on their site. They want to know that that site and that post is going to be shared and retweeted and liked and commented on and all of that stuff. I've actually had editors say to me, listen, I'd love to hook you up, but that artist has no traction. Like, why do we care? And it used to be back in the day, I was great at actually pitching, putting a spin and engaging and compelling enough to make somebody write about it regardless. But it's not as simple as that anymore. They're not going to just write about it. You have to give them other reasons that you have an actual audience. You have to have an audience now to get a blog post, to get a feature. There's ways around it. You want to make your story as creative and unusual and original as possible. And if you have something that really speaks from the heart and it's magical and it's cool and different, yeah, they're going to write about it. If you've won a Coca-Cola Best Unsigned Bands or Gibson they're going to write about that. But if you're just another struggling band, making music, sending your EPK, here's your SoundCloud link, why is someone like me at Paste Magazine or Pitchfork or Nylon or Fader, whatever it is, why are we going to write about you? So I'm faced with that every single day. It gets harder and harder and harder. And the artist has demands. You get them blog posts and it's never enough. Now my clients are like, well, why didn't I get Vice and Pitchfork and Spin and Rolling Stone? I'm like, excuse me? Hello? Did you look at yourself lately?
More
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I have one.
Please.
It's about conflict of interest when you were talking about websites. What if you have a website and you have all your artists in that one website and just brand them with that one brand? You get it?
Yeah.
Do you think that's better than just them all having their own little website? Because this is the problem now.
Well, do you have an entertainment company and you have multiple artists within?
Like a label, but you know how like an artist wants to have his own website, my stuff. I wanted to just brand them with one brand. Like if it was like, IAR, all these artists are under IAR, the brand itself. No one has their own little thing on the side. It's just focusing on that one particular brand.
I mean, that's tough because if you're putting out music, not everybody's music's going to be like yours. So how, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have your own identity.
Yeah, that's true, because you ever heard of Funk Volume?
Yeah.
Yeah, they, they just brand them with that one, FV, and then they're all under that one website, and all the shirts is just under that one brand. That's what I wanted to do, but it's that whole conflict of interest thing, So I just want to get your advice on that.
Lou, you probably have good.
No, I'm trying to.
It's a good question, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would say as an artist, that would be really limiting. I mean, I don't think I'd want to be an artist in a collective that was telling me don't have an individual presence. I think I'd want to be an artist in a collective that was like, we collectively stand for X, you know, like we are, you know, everybody here is a singer-songwriter with some element of humor or, you know, something, like, so we're all going to be bound in that way. But I mean, think about the world we live in. It's an I world, you know. It's like everybody wants to be like, you know,
that person.
Yeah, I have, you know, I have a very individual prescription for every single little thing that I need in life. So like, I don't know that. It sounds like, I mean, if you were like creating a festival, I would focus on your brand and making. If you're creating an umbrella brand, then focus on that brand and only recruit and get artists and people that seem to fit in with like what you are all about. But ultimately, like, you and your festival will be a brand. But I'd really caution against trying to take it away from individual.
Yeah, that's true.
Totally agreed. And then you can't do selfies.
Well, I think
just one more.
I have one thing to add. I have one thing to add that might help as a compromise. It's like a lot of record labels, what they would do is they have their own artist page that then like their own band page is linked in somewhere in there. And so it's like you can have that compromise where they have their own identity that's separate from the collective, but the collective can still dictate. Yeah.
And that's not a conflict of interest, by the way. Why would you think, you mentioned conflict of interest?
You know, like what she said, everybody wants their own thing, and it'll be like a conflict. They'll be like, oh, I want my own identity, not this, and it'll be like kind of like a conflict.
It's not a conflict of interest because people opt into that network. They're already in that umbrella. If they weren't if they thought it was a conflict of interest, they'd get out of that, wouldn't they?
The thing about conflict of interest, it happens like later on. You know, people don't really see it in the beginning.
I wouldn't think about it. Don't focus on that.
Yeah, all right.
Do not focus on that.
And one more, you guys were talking about licensing, and you know, the video game industry is really growing with compositions and like video games and sync licenses. And I was wondering if you guys know any companies that do that, only focus on that.
I think most of the licensing companies focus on everything.
On everything.
And they sure they have a specialist in that area.
Do you guys know a good one that you would recommend?
I don't, you know, not off the top of my head, just because I don't tend to write music I don't write stuff that's more like, they call them cues, where like I write full songs, you know, like music and lyrics, and then sometimes my music will, like an instrumental will get used as the background of something and they call it a cue, but there are composers who are specifically writing like death metal rock, and they're doing like a 15-second version and a 30-second version and a 60-second version, and those become cues that get licensed out. Give me your info later because I might know some people. Like if I go back through my archives,
awesome.
I know two bands that use music dealers.
Yeah, music dealers is a good one.
Yeah,
Yep, music dealers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Songkick? Lou's Songkick? Is that one?
No.
No. Okay.
Questions?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
What are some of the milestone markers that an artist must have in place before they retain a publicist? If aside from the capacity of paying for it, what are some of the milestone markers?
Ooh. Wow, that's an interesting question. I like to look at it. To me, a milestone marker really needs to be your story. I mean, you have to have a story, some kind of compelling story that's going to resonate, that's going to be contagious, that's going to want to make people buy into it. That to me is the biggest thing, whether you call that a milestone or not, but it's the most important thing in my book for wanting to work with an artist other than the music, like how you sound. You know, secondly, touring, like you don't have to say you've toured the world but leave your home, like, you know, get off your couch and play Arlene Grocery, you know what I mean? Like, geez. I mean, I've had artists come to me that have never played a show. I'm like, how can you call yourself a musician if you've not even played a gig?
Well,
so
most of the artists you hear on the radio don't perform live either, so maybe that's why.
Right, okay, but you're asking specifically what would make me or what would make a publicist want to work with you? Yeah, I want to know that you're not lazy. Yeah. Is that a milestone, not being lazy? I hope not.
Is there a criteria that you have? Because you've
Yes.
been referencing to the outreach, right? The capacity the artist has.
Yeah.
To reach. Is there certain metrics that you're looking for
Yeah.
that says, you know,
Okay.
I'm not going to work with
Yeah,
an artist
I got
that
you.
has 500 Twitter
That's
accounts
right.
because
That's
it
right.
doesn't serve them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've worked with the ground up. I mean, when I started with Avery Sunshine, she had 200 Facebook likes. You know, I've worked with bands that started with 79 likes. I mean, it's embarrassingly low. But it's okay. Sometimes they're new to the platform. And don't laugh. It's not funny. I mean, you've got to start somewhere. Don't laugh, because you might have 49 likes. Well, there you go. Well, that's what I'm saying. We all start from zero, don't we? That's the only way to get to 20,000 and 1 million. So don't ever be embarrassed. I mean, I just started my Bloom Effect page recently. I've only got like 780 likes. I was going to go to Lou and try to work something out with him, but I was a little bit embarrassed. But he loves me, so he probably wouldn't.
I'm ready. Let's make a deal.
But as far as milestones, I mean, at least try to have 500 likes. At least try to have more than 200 plus Twitter followers. At least try to have 100 plus Instagram. Those are small steps, you know. There are no milestones with coming in to getting a publicist. I want to know you're hungry. I want to know that you will work your ass off. I don't want to work harder than you. I am the #1 hustler. They call me workaholic. I don't want to work with a band that is not a workaholic.
Yeah.
That's true. You are.
Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Juan Garcia. I'm a previous.
Is that your real name?
Yeah, Juan
That's
Garcia.
a great name.
Thank you, thank
Wow.
you. Don Juan, aka Don
Juan Garcia.
But I think
Wow.
this young man also was talking about
There's a
also
story.
was something similar to what Wu-Tang and what Young Money did, where they had all these artists under their umbrella and they all spanned it out in their own careers. I think if you had that kind of situation where you had all these artists under one umbrella, they should have their own identities, like Nicki, like yeah, all of them. Yeah, everybody should have their own path that they're going, and then that should relieve the conflict of interest that you think you're having. And I also want to know, as an artist, or for every artist, how important is it to own your publishing rights to your music? And with people like, say, Bad Boy Puffy, who will make you sign, who try to make you sign over your publishing, how hard is it for an artist to actually own their own publishing?
Well, you already own it. If you're not signed to anyone else, you already own it. And you have a lot more freedom, and you keep 100% of the ownership of it, but you also don't have a lot of reach into the right relationships. So if you're with a publishing company, they can get you into ESPN and the gaming and things like that, because that's what they do for a living. If you're on your own, own your own publishing, it's really, really hard to do that unless you do know people.
Okay. So what if you went to Puffy and said, yeah, we're going to have to turn over that publishing before I give you a deal? That's the deal that's the problem that artists deal with, is they lose everything because they are so hungry. They say, well, let me just take it, and maybe later I'll recoup and I'll be a great artist. But then if they're not, then they lose.
But it's all based on leverage. If you've got so much stuff going on, and all those guys are looking at you to sign you, you have leverage. You could say, no, I'll give you half or a quarter or whatever it is. If you have nothing going on,
right,
you better just give it to them, because you ain't worth anything anyway.
All right, gotcha. Thank you.
I mean, it's about leverage, isn't it?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's what I do. So.
We got time for 2 more questions. Come on. Yeah, for the microphone. They're taping it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Wilson. I'm a singer-songwriter. I tend to write message music, which is very progressive, sometimes political, sometimes not popular. And I have issues about it because I'm so passionate about it, because it's driven by passion and what's going on in the world. And I have issues about posting it because I don't want to be presumptuous and I don't want to exploit. I have a song about Trayvon Martin. Don't want to necessarily, I mean, I'm passionate about it. It hurts. That's why I wrote it. I want to get the message out about it. But, I don't want to exploit it or have anyone use that angle. How would you recommend that I perhaps go, or at least start the process of doing it? I'm just curious.
So I think in any music that you share, it's framing your story and framing the song itself. So if you're writing about something that's political or something that's painful and sensitive, the way you present it to the world is going to dictate how people react to it, right? So if you, like, the second something severe happens and you post something and it's like, okay, buy my song about this world incident, that seems more exploitive than saying, I wrote this song last night, I've been thinking about what happened, I want to share my thoughts. Why don't you share yours with me? Let's talk about this. Like so the way you frame it is going to set the tone no matter what. So being sensitive to exploitation, being sensitive to who may be hurting as well, like that may help you get off on the right foot.
Yeah, there was actually, I really feel this question because we had a song. I have a friend who's got 2 kids on the autism spectrum, and she asked me to write a song to help them raise money for a walk. And so I did, and it was cool, right? But then I ran into this same issue where it was like, well, if we want to try to sell this song, which we do so that we can donate the money to this cause, how do we market this so that it doesn't look like, buy my song about autism, you know, and like exploiting that cause, which is a bad look, like just not what you want to do. You know, so what I found worked better was making it completely about the issue and not about me at all. And the upshot was that I ended up gaining a very significant niche fan base because of this song, people who got interested in my other stuff. But it was like really rare that we ever said, hey, like Cassandra Kubinski released this new song. It was always, you know, have you seen that these autism numbers are growing and this is a concern, and we wrote this song to inspire acceptance and awareness. And there would always be a buy link like under the videos and such, but it was never like, go buy the song. It was like, if you resonate, you know, you can buy the song, but there was not really ever a direct pitch. And that inspired community, like the people that you'd be reaching, the people who resonate with your message. A lot of times, like Fiona said earlier, your fans become your best marketing partners. And we experienced that the people who resonated with this sent it to ABC, and they sent it to New York One, and they sent it to parents.com. And we got on all of those sites with this song. And it wasn't something that we even had a PR guy, and he got almost nothing for us. Like, seriously, it was all what we got. The attention that we got media-wise was pretty much sourced through the community that cared, because it looks a lot better like that with an issue-driven song, you know.
Also, if you focus on the cause, you will find out that the media will come to you, actually, and you'll start to generate a lot of press, which is a beautiful thing, right?
Yep. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Oh, great. Any more questions? We have time for one more. Come on.
Come on down.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Montero.
That's another great name, Juan Montero. So many great names out there, wow.
Thank you.
Juan Garcia, Juan Montero, wow.
I'm actually a recording engineer. I actually graduated about like a year ago. I'm actually in the artist management program right now. And pretty much I'm working with various artists, but this is just one artist I work with, and he's actually doing pretty good for himself. And you know, I'm not his per se manager, but he's like a family member, real close friend to me, and I actually help him out with whatever I learned here in school and amongst other students that I work with. He's actually at a point in his career where he's actually doing very good in social media. He's generating thousands of views and likes and stuff like that. He's showcasing everywhere, Rock Nation, you name it. He's performing in local areas down here in Soho and all of that. Now, where we find ourselves and himself at is that he's like kind of like stuck. Like, you know, he's at a point where he's in multiple platforms, social media, all of that, but what's the next step once you reach, like for an example, you're generating 300 likes and you're at a little minimal career step, like you're actually doing really good. Like, it's a time for him to find like the bigger hand to like, actually boost him up. Like, what's the next step after you're doing somewhat okay in social media and in the local community?
I mean, the next step is to go outside the local community.
Yeah. You got to expand, go locally, regionally, nationally. Own your own market, own the bigger market, and then, boy.
And I think be aware of what your goals are, you know. I mean, I think a lot of artists just start going at it. And, you know, initially it's all very exciting because where there was nothing and now there's something, like you're going to attract some attention, you know, and you're going to feel like, wow, like I'm getting eyeballs and I'm getting, you know, ears and people are listening to my stuff. And then it kind of levels out, you know, and it sounds like that's where you're at, where it's sort of like leveled out. And so I think like as an artist and as someone on the artist's team, that it's a good time to not get so busy and like take a step back and be like, all right, like vision wise, where do we want to go? Where would we like to be in a year? What would a huge benchmark be for us? And then you can start organizing your efforts. Like maybe he doesn't have to play every single showcase opportunity that comes along. You know, maybe like you can start taping his shows and being like, what would seriously improve this live show to the point that maybe we'll produce a showcase and invite industry people that we want to catch the attention of. You know, so like sometimes it's not a matter of like do everything. You get a sense, and it's intuitive, you know, like when you take that step and say, let's like get a sense of really what would our next big milestone that would be super exciting be, and let's just go for that, you know.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, before we go, I'm going to close out with one piece of advice from each of us that we're going to leave this wonderful group of people as it relates to this is what we're going to give you if there's nothing else you've gotten tonight, or just one thing we want you to take with you. And I'll start. Think about it as I'm talking. Mine is pretty simple. Mine is organize your plan. You know, there's so much available to you, so much more than in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and so much more that you as an artist are empowered and able to do from your computer. So it's a really exciting time, but it's also overwhelming. So I would just recommend, and I found for me, just with everything that I've done, just to organize the plan and say, okay, for 3 months, I'm going to do Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Then month 4, I'm going to layer on Pinterest. But just try to organize it. And because it's all achievable, but you just kind of have to have a plan written down and kind of go back to it, check metrics, see what's working, continue to optimize and move forward. So have a plan, work the plan. That's what I'd have to say.
So I guess this advice is good for social media marketing and all that, and your music. It's find your voices, tune it, see what works, stick to it, and keep your message there, right? Don't just tweet for the sake of tweeting. Don't just play shows for the sake of playing shows. Find out what your mission is, why you're in music, what your passion is, stick to it, and continue doing it, and hone your craft. And as you do that, you'll get a bigger audience gradually. Take care of them. Remember that the people who are standing by you now, if you treat them well, they'll help you get to the next level and the next level and the next level. It's really like a snowball effect. So stay true to your voice and take care of the audience that you're building now.
I'm going to say, because we live in an ADD world, you have to give your fans an experience. And I don't mean that just at a live show. I do mean that at a live show, but not just there. Create an event. But also on social media as well. You know, goes back to even the guerrilla marketing. When when I met Taylor Swift a couple of years ago, and she was pretty much nobody. And I remember there were people online at NARM in Chicago wanted to know who she was, and she literally said, "Hi, how you doing?" She looked in your eyes. "You have beautiful eyes." Not to me, but to somebody else. Oh, those are great shoes. I mean, she literally, she was nobody, and she knew exactly what she was doing. Mm-hmm. And she created an experience and engagement and stuff like that. Also on the live show, same exact thing. Just don't go out there and play. There's 4 million other bands who can play. Create something.
One's hard. I would say, not to be cliche, but it's advice that I give and that I have to remind myself to follow too, is do what lights you up. Like, make it fun, This is all great advice, and it's all great stuff to consider and to marinate in, and and then there's 400 other panels that we could have had. We could make your head spin about other stuff that you should do, but at the end of the day, or really at the beginning of the day, what would light you up? Do that, because that's going to transfer. Like, if people are feeling your spirit, because like you are loving what's happening and you're loving like your vibe and you're loving your own music and you're loving making it, that transfers so much more than like I'm hustling and I got to do this, and I made my plan, and I got this person and this person, I got this many numbers. Like, that's all good, and business people like that, but like real human being fan people like feeling your spirit, and so like be generous with that.
It's very true. And when Lou brought up Taylor Swift, going down the line saying, "Hi, I'm Taylor Swift, you have beautiful eyes." The thing is, flattery will get you everywhere. And we all love to receive compliments. And what did I just do earlier? Juan Garcia, that's a beautiful name. Juan Montero, another beautiful name. point being, I'm not being disingenuous. The point is, people like to get compliments. They like to be loved and adored. We're humans, right? So never not shy away from telling somebody they're lovely, or you make me laugh, or I needed you today, or you don't ever be afraid of giving compliments. Believe in your dream. Don't let anyone steer you otherwise, and stay focused, work hard, have a great attitude, and be the best that you can be, and never give up.
Thank you guys very much. Here comes Barry.
So I want to give a compliment to everybody here. Thank you
go,
all
exactly.
for your time.
Compliments.
I thought there was a great audience. You're very attentive. Thank you to all the panelists, Olivia, Hayley, Lou, Cassandra, and Fiona for their time and for all those gifts. So right now we're going to have about a half an hour or so of post-panel networking here at the school. So kind of come up and even network amongst yourselves. And then we're going to move over to Webster Hall, which is on 11th Street, just by 4th Avenue. And lastly, I just wanted to say one thing about the recording that we're doing tonight. We've done this before for the other two panels if you are interested in building your artist as a team, as well as the tech industry, about new tools in the studio, as well as this panel and the fourth one. So I'm going to give you a URL if you want to take it down. And this one will be up there shortly. You could review it or share it with some friends. It's and it'll probably be on the school's website shortly as well. FLOBEL.org. That's the Florence Belsky Foundation's website. And before we do start networking with the panelists, I just want to ask, I want to try to take a quick photo shoot with them, and then we'll get off to networking. Thank you all for your time being here.